He lay on the roadside like trash. Face down. Shoes missing. Hands trembling against the dust of the gutter. People walked past him, some slowed down, but none stopped. They assumed he was drunk. Mad. Maybe just another homeless man wasting the city's space. Nobody asked if he could breathe. His mouth moved slowly like he was whispering secrets only death could hear. A fly landed on his lip. He didn't move. His shirt was torn open, chest rising and falling like the last flickers of a dying fire. The Lagos sun was unforgiving that day. The traffic moved. The motorcycles swerved. The buses honked. But he remained invisible. He had been there for 37 minutes. 37 long minutes, under the full glare of daylight, surrounded by thousands of people, yet seen by no one. Until Chinaza came. Her shirt soaked in sweat. A torn backpack on her shoulders. One hand holding a warm nylon bag of jollof rice meant for a waiting customer. The other gripping a small bottle of water she had planned to drink when she could finally sit down. She had only 1 hour left to finish her last 4 deliveries. She was hungry. Tired. She had no money to spare. But something about the old man's body, the way it curled, the way it gave up, made her stop. She stood over him, shaking. Then knelt. "Sir, can you hear me?" No response. She looked around. Nobody cared. Not even the hawkers. A tear rolled down her cheek as she whispered, "Please don't die." She poured her only water into his mouth. Tore her scarf to fan him. Used her last 850 Nigerian nairas to call a tricycle. And carried a man she had never met to the hospital. That was the day she lost everything. Her deliveries. Cancelled. Her pay. Slashed. Her job. At risk. Her food. Gone. And the man. He couldn't even speak. Didn't remember his name. Didn't know where he lived. Didn't have any ID. But she saved him anyway. What Chinaza didn't know was that the man she saved was the father of one of the most feared billionaires in Africa. Welcome to African Tales, Imade. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Chinaza ran between buses like her life depended on it. Because it did. She was 23. An orphan. A delivery girl for a struggling food app. She didn't own a bike, so she ran, or begged Okodas. No base salary. No health insurance. Only commission. Every day, she delivered food to people who never said thank you. People who lived in air-conditioned houses and wore perfumes that could pay her rent for 6 months. But she smiled. Always. Because that's what her mother taught her before she died. Smile. Even if it hurts. Because no one owes you pity. That day was hard. Chinaza had woken up with a fever. She hadn't eaten. Her slippers were already broken. But her rent was due, and she couldn't afford excuses. By 2:13 p.m., she had made 7 deliveries. 3 left. 1 hour to go. She was crossing the pedestrian bridge at Ojalegba when she saw him. The man. On the ground. Face in the dirt. Dying, slowly. People passed. Some hissed. A few even insulted him. Useless old drunk. Maybe he deserves it. But Chinaza stopped. Because he reminded her of her father. She stood there for 5 seconds. 10. Then dropped her bag. And ran to him. At the hospital reception, Chinaza was shaking. Please help him. He's not breathing well. The nurse barely looked up. Is he your father? No. I just found him on the road. Then who will pay? I will. She opened her purse and poured all the money she had, 850 Nigerian nairas. The nurse sighed. That won't even cover consultation. Please, he's dying. Eventually, a doctor came. Looked at the man. Took pity. He was rushed in. Chinaza sat outside for 3 hours. Staring at the wall. Stomach growling. Phone buzzing with angry customer calls. She didn't move. When the doctor returned, he said. If you hadn't brought him, he would have died in 20 minutes. He had a heart attack. Chinaza burst into tears. But not of joy. Of fear. Because now, she had nothing. When she returned to the dispatch office that evening, her supervisor shouted at her. You abandoned orders. You think you're a nurse. Get out before. You are fired. She walked home in the rain. Wet. Hungry. Fired. But the man was alive. And that, she told herself, was worth something. Wasn't it? 3 days later, Chinaza went back to the hospital to check on the man. He was awake. Still weak. Still unable to remember much. But he could sit up. She brought him bread. He smiled. Thank you, my child. What's your name? Chinaza. He repeated it like he was memorizing it. I wish I knew mine, he said sadly. All I remember is a name. Obina. Chinaza paused. Obina. That name was everywhere. Obina Ease. The oil magnate. The real estate shark. The billionaire behind entire estates in Lekki, Dubai, and Johannesburg. Feared. Powerful. Untouchable. Could it be? She brushed it off. Until the next week, when 2 black jeeps pulled into the hospital's car park. Men in suits rushed in, asking for a patient named Jonathan Ease. Jonathan. Not Obina. But when they entered the room, one of them shouted, Papa. Chinaza froze. They surrounded the old man. The man she had saved was Jonathan Ease. Father of Obina Ease, the man whose name could open any door. Obina walked in minutes later. Tall. Calm. Dressed in all white. Surrounded by security. He looked at his father. Then at Chinaza. Who are you? He asked. And in that moment, Chinaza knew. Her life was about to change. Obina stared at Chinaza for a long time. He didn't blink. Didn't smile. Didn't even move. His father, still weak in bed, said softly, She saved me, Obina. I was dying. Nobody stopped. But this girl gave everything. Still, Obina's face didn't change. One of his men whispered something in his ear. Obina nodded slightly, then looked back at Chinaza. How much do you want? Chinaza blinked. Sorry. How much do you want? He repeated coldly. For what you did. She felt something twist in her chest. I didn't do it for money. Obina smirked. Everyone does something for something. You didn't carry a dying man to a hospital because you had nothing better to do. So, name your price. His words cut like blades. She looked down at her hands, still red from the day she carried his father into that tricycle. I did it because I saw a man dying and no one cared. Silence. For a moment, even the air in the room stopped moving. Obina leaned back, still studying her. Then, he turned and walked out. Just like that. As if nothing had happened. Chinaza didn't hear from Obina for 3 days. She didn't know if he was grateful, or angry, or both. Then, on the 4th day, 2 men in black suits showed up at her doorstep. Miss Chinaza Nwachukwu. She stepped back. Yes. You're wanted for questioning. For what? No answer. They drove her in silence to a tall glass building on the island, one of Obina's headquarters. The security gate opened like a vault. She was led to a private floor, white walls, glass doors, men with earpieces. Then into a cold room with 1 chair. Obina entered minutes later. He placed a file on the table. You told the hospital you didn't know who my father was. I didn't. You told them you were just a delivery girl. I am. He slid the file across to her. She opened it. Inside were photos. Of her. Taken from across streets. Near her apartment. Inside her delivery office. Even one of her kneeling beside his father on the road. Who took these? She asked, voice cracking. Obina stared at her, his face unreadable. I run empires, Miss Chinaza. I don't believe in luck. I believe in design. And the timing of your rescue was almost too perfect. She stood up. You think I planned your father's heart attack? He didn't answer. You think I'm some spy sent to trap you? Still nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. I lost my job. I haven't eaten in 2 days. And you think I staged this? Obinna finally spoke, softly this time. I've lost people to traps before. People who wore innocence like perfume. So I needed to be sure. Chinaza's voice shook. And now? Are you sure? He didn't speak. But she walked to the door, turned back, and said, When your father was dying, I didn't ask who he was. I just helped. Because that's what humans do. If that scares you, I'm sorry. But maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe it's the world you built. She left. No escort. No words. Just silence. That night, Chinaza sat alone on her bed. No job. No food. No family. No direction. She opened her purse. Only 70 Nigerian nairas left. She lay down and closed her eyes. Until her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't pick. But something told her to. Hello. A voice on the other end. Calm. Familiar. This is Obinna. She sat up. I've spoken to my father. He told me how long you waited. What you gave up. The nurse confirmed it too. You were telling the truth. She said nothing. Then he continued. I want to see you. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. Dress simply. No makeup. No expectations. The call ended. The next morning, she went. No idea what to expect. They met in a private garden behind his estate. Birds chirped. A water fountain trickled nearby. It was the first time she saw him without guards. He handed her a plain brown envelope. She opened it. Inside was a job offer. A personal assistant role in his humanitarian foundation. Monthly pay. Health insurance. Free accommodation. 1-year contract. She looked up, speechless. He said, I can't undo your loss. But maybe I can rewrite your future. Then he added softly, for the first time in years, my father smiled again. Not because of money, but because of you. And I think, you saved more than his life. You saved his hope. She didn't cry. Not there. She just whispered, thank you. And from that day, everything changed. But not in the way she expected. Because with power, came new dangers. And Chinaza was about to step into a world she was never prepared for. The new office was nothing like anything Chinaza had ever seen. Polished marble floors. Elevators that didn't need buttons. Artificial waterfalls inside glass walls. And security doors that only opened with thumbprints. She stood there on her first day, second-hand bag, borrowed shoes, heart pounding. Everyone around her wore suits. Sleek hairstyles. She didn't even know where to put her water bottle. But Obinna's personal secretary, Ms. Shodde, gave her a kind nod. You're assigned directly to the chairman. You'll attend board briefings, review charity funding, manage his father's medical schedule, and sometimes represent him. Me. Chinaza's voice cracked. Yes. You've already made more impact than most of us ever have. That afternoon, Obinna walked into the conference room, and for the first time, acknowledged her publicly. Meet Miss Chinaza Nwachukwu. She's not here because of luck. She's here because she saw value in a life when the world saw none. Let her remind us that true leadership begins with humanity. Applause. But as the room clapped, Chinaza noticed something else. A woman in a red dress, tall, confident, not clapping. She held a pen. Pressed it hard against her notebook. Eyes cold. Later, Ms. Shodde whispered, That's Angela. The chairman's longtime legal consultant, and something else, unofficially. Like what? Let's just say, you've walked into her territory. Within weeks, Chinaza's life transformed. She had her own desk, her first official email, and a branded ID that opened doors she never knew existed. She began coordinating community outreach, helping orphanages, funding widows, overseeing medical relief for slum communities. She was doing real work. Work that mattered. And Obinna slowly softened. He smiled more, listened longer, asked about her ideas, sometimes sat with her during lunch. They never crossed boundaries, but the air between them began to change. And the whispers started. She overheard one in the hallway. That's her, the girl who rescued the chairman's father, probably aiming to marry her way up. At first, she ignored it, until her monthly account was flagged. Then her locker was searched. Then her work emails began disappearing. She didn't understand. Until one night, Ms. Shodde pulled her aside. "They want you out, Chinaza." Quietly. "Why? What did I do?" "You exist. That's enough. You disrupted their power flow. Obinna listens to you now. That's dangerous for people who've lived off his silence." Chinaza blinked. "Who are they?" Shodde looked over her shoulder. "Start with Angela." One Saturday afternoon, Chinaza received a handwritten note on her desk. "The hospital. Room 207. Midnight." No signature. She thought it was a mistake. Or a prank. But something inside her said go. At 11:59 p.m., she arrived. The nurse on duty gave her a silent nod and pointed upstairs. Room 207. She entered. The room was dim. A weak lamp by the bed. And there, sitting up, pale but alert, was Obinna's father. "Come in," he said. She sat slowly. "I called you because I don't know how long I have," he whispered. "And there's something you must know." He reached under the bed and pulled out a dusty folder. Inside were pictures, letters, old newspaper clippings, court records. He pointed at a headline. "Young Lagos lawyer cleared of land-grabbing charges." A story from over 20 years ago. "That's Obinna," he said. He took a fall to protect his mother's name. She was the one involved in that mess. But he covered for her. He always protects those he loves, even if it costs him. Chinaza's heart sank. All his life, he's been surrounded by power, but never love. He doesn't trust easily. But he trusts you. She looked at the papers. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because they're going to attack you. And when they do, Obinna might try to push you away to protect you. But don't leave him. He needs someone who isn't afraid of his truth." Then he gripped her hand and said something that shook her. "Promise me, you won't let them take him." Her voice cracked. "I promise." Outside, the rain began to fall. And far away, in the shadows of that beautiful tower, Angela made her next move. Angela invited her to lunch. A private restaurant at the top of one of Obinna's towers. No other guests. Just the two of them. Chinaza arrived on time. Nervous, but calm. Angela was already seated, wine in hand, red lipstick perfect, smile sharp. "You look tired, Chinaza. This job must be a lot for someone who used to run around with jollof rice." Chinaza smiled faintly. "Thank you for the invitation." Angela leaned forward. "I'll be very honest with you. You're not qualified to be here. You didn't climb. You jumped. And you didn't even use a ladder, you used pity." Chinaza stayed silent. Angela sipped her wine and continued. "You don't understand this world. The way power moves. You think saving an old man gives you a seat at the table? No. What gives you a seat is knowing when to step away. And that time is now." She slid a white envelope across the table. Inside, 10 million Nigerian nairas check. Chinaza didn't touch it. Angela said, "Walk away." Quietly. "No damage. I can even get you a better job, abroad if you want. All I need is for you to disappear from Obinna's line of sight." before things get ugly. Chinaza met her eyes and said one sentence. If you're trying to scare me, you're wasting both our time. Angela's smile vanished. She stood, picked up the check, tore it into 4 clean pieces, and dropped them on Chinaza's plate like breadcrumbs. You think this is a fairy tale? You'll learn. Some of us were born wolves. She walked out, and the war officially began. The headline hit the blogs 2 days later. Obinna's personal assistant allegedly linked to stolen foundation funds, 4.2 million Nigerian nairas missing. Her photo was everywhere. The orphan girl. The delivery girl. The charity thief. Fake screenshots. Forged signatures. Anonymous sources. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. She ran to the office, but the guards didn't let her in. You've been suspended. Orders from above. Even Ms. Shode avoided her calls. That night, she stood outside the estate gate. Rain falling hard. Security refusing to let her see Obinna. She cried. Banged the gate. Screamed, I didn't steal anything. I swear I didn't. But no one came. Then a voice behind her said, Go home, Chinaza, before this destroys you. It was Angela. And she was smiling. 2 weeks passed. No word from Obinna. Chinaza stayed in her room. Curtains drawn. Bank account frozen. She had to beg neighbors for food. People in her compound began to avoid her. Nobody wanted to be close to a fraudster. One night, while sorting through her old delivery backpack, she found an envelope hidden inside. She didn't remember placing it there. She opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. The handwriting was Obinna's. Chinaza, if you're reading this, then something has gone wrong, and I've failed to protect you. I knew Angela would come for you. I underestimated how fast. And I'm sorry. I didn't speak because I had to gather proof. Quietly. Carefully. I couldn't let them see me move. But know this, I believe you. I believe you didn't take a single naira. And no matter what happens, I won't let them bury you. Your life was already a story before I walked in. But now, I want to help you write the rest. Not from a place of pity, but of partnership. Don't give up on me. Or on yourself. Chinaza held the letter to her chest. And for the first time in days, she smiled. Because now, she wasn't waiting to be rescued. She was getting ready to fight back. The day Chinaza reappeared at Obinna's tower, the receptionist nearly dropped her pen. Her head was high. Her clothes were simple. But her eyes had changed. Not timid. Not defensive. But sharp. Clear. Focused. Is the chairman in? She asked calmly. The receptionist hesitated. He's in a board meeting. You're not allowed. Chinaza raised a letter. Give him this. It's from his father. 10 minutes later, a security escort walked her past floors of glass offices, shocked stares, and whispers. Into the private boardroom. Obinna stood at the far end. Angela was there. So were other directors. A meeting was in full swing. Chinaza stepped in like she was invited. One of the board members shouted, Who let her in? Obinna's eyes met hers, and for a moment, the whole room went quiet. She placed a file on the table. A second file beside it. This one, she said pointing to the first, is proof I never stole from the foundation. Bank transfer logs. Forensic audit. Screenshots showing my access was blocked 2 days before the funds went missing. This second file is a gift. Obinna picked it up. Flipped through the pages. His face hardened. Slowly, Angela stood. What is this nonsense? Chinaza's voice was calm. It's evidence of the real thief. Screenshots. Recorded calls. Her fingerprints on a fake account named after the charity's dead accountant. Angela froze. Where did you get this? Chinaza smiled softly. From someone who used to work for you. Until you framed him for a similar crime and threw him away. He never forgot. Obina stared at Angela. You told me to suspend her. Angela's voice shook. Obina, she forged these. She. Obina slammed the folder shut. Get out. The room went still. I said get out, he repeated, lower, deadlier. Angela tried to speak again. Security appeared. She was escorted out. Silently, Obina turned to Chinaza. I'm sorry I didn't protect you faster. Chinaza smiled through her tears. You gave me something better. A reason to fight. That evening, Chinaza was invited to the family estate. Not as a worker. Not as a guest. As someone important. Obina's father was waiting by the garden. He took her hands, kissed them gently, and said, I knew you were sent to us for a reason. Inside, the table was already set. Just the three of them. No guards. No tension. No walls. Obina poured her a drink. Tell me, he said, what do you want now, Chinaza? She hesitated. Thought long. Then said, I want to build something. A real foundation. For girls like me. Girls who get lost in the system. Girls who grow up thinking kindness is weakness. Obina nodded. Let's build it together. There was a pause. A deep one. He reached for her hand. This time, not as a boss. Not as a billionaire. As a man. And for the first time, Chinaza didn't feel like the delivery girl. She felt like the one who delivered a dying man back to life, and changed a legacy. 2 years later, Chinaza stood on a stage in Abuja, speaking to thousands of young women. Behind her, a banner read, The Chinaza Foundation, Building Dignity from Dust. She had built shelters, started free skill centers, sponsored over 100 girls to university. Obina supported it, but didn't control it. She made her own way. She stood tall, strong. People said I had no business being in boardrooms. That I came from the streets, so I should stay there. But I say this. You don't need permission to rewrite your story. You don't need a rich background to build a rich legacy. The crowd roared. She saw girls crying, old women praying, young men nodding. She had become more than a girl who helped a stranger. She had become a name. And in the audience, Obina stood silently. Proud. Grateful. Changed. They never announced they were together. Because what they shared didn't need loud music or flashing cameras. It was something deeper. Two broken lives that healed each other. And it all started on a hot afternoon, when a girl with nothing gave everything. You've just heard the true-to-life journey of Chinaza, a delivery girl who lost everything to save a man everyone walked past, and in doing so, found everything she didn't even know she was missing. Moral of the story. Kindness is never wasted. The world may not notice it immediately, but destiny does. Not every open door comes with a key. Sometimes, you walk through it because you dared to show up. You don't need power to be powerful. You need courage, sacrifice, and a reason. Never let where you start decide how your story ends. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this.